Hello and welcome back once again to After the Credits. So I'm trying to make these videos a little bit shorter just to try and get into them, so I'm going to try and cut back more on the talking stuff at the beginning of these and just kind of tell you what movie I'm seeing and get right into it. So today I'm talking about xXx 3, I guess, Return of Xander Cage. So what did I think of the new xXx film? It's about 15 years too late. I mean, you had the first xXx film, everyone loved it. Then you had the second one with State of the Union starring Ice Cube, and it was kind of eh. And the only reason that one didn't really pick up where the first one left off is because Vin Diesel had signed on to do the Fast and the Furious franchise, and there was a temporary conflict of interest between the two with scheduling. So he ended up opting for Fast and the Furious instead of the xXx franchise. And then after the one with Ice Cube, it kind of bombed and everyone thought there would never be another one. Now here we are 10 years later after the one with Ice Cube, because I think that was in 2005. And it's now 2017. So, yeah, like 12 years later, they finally decide, hey, he's got some time free. Let's go ahead and make the third one now that he's agreed to come back to it. So we have Vin Diesel return as Xander Cage. So what's the movie about? It's about pretty much nothing. It's basically a action film to be an action film. It kind of feels at certain points a lot like Fast and the Furious. It kind of feels like the first xXx if it was in fast forward. So it's been a couple days since I actually watched this because my work schedules had me kind of working extensive shifts, so I didn't really get around to sitting down and recording anything for a little while here. So I'm trying to go off memory because it has been a couple days since I was actually able to watch it. But from what I remember, and that should tell you something right there about what the film was like if I can't really remember it 100% after a couple days. I mean, there are horrible movies that I can remember details about months later, and okay movies that I vaguely remember a day later. So, from what I recall of this, we start out with Samuel L. Jackson's character recruiting new members for the xXx program, and a satellite crashes into the town where he's at, and everyone thinks that he's dead, so they're like, well, what happened? And they finally find out that some form of terrorist group has hijacked military intelligence that allows them to control satellites and kind of use them as missiles and just like drop them out of orbit onto select locations, and basically wipe out large areas almost to the devastation of a nuclear explosion. It's kind of the same premise that the G.I. Joe movie used with the dropping large metal pylons from space and letting them drive into the ground with an atomic force. It's basically kind of that. So they're like, well, do we know anyone who can track this person down and take them out? And they're like, no, but there used to be a guy. So then they're like, well, okay, how do we contact him? And they find Xander Cage, who apparently back in the Ice Cube version, State of the Union, there was a scene where they mentioned that he had been wiped out in an explosion. And there is a deleted scene from that movie that actually shows the xXx tattoo from the back of his neck, like landing on the ground and basically saying that he died. But that was cut out of the movie because I guess they either thought it looked too cheesy or they said, well, we can always say that he faked his death and if he ever wants to come back later, and that's kind of where they left it ambiguous and open. So that's basically what this is Xander Cage faked his death in that explosion to get out of the xXx program and go back to his normal civilian life where he's overseas somewhere or just out of U.S. jurisdiction and just kind of hiding out, but everyone still knows who he is. So they managed to track him down. They're like, yeah, we knew you weren't dead. We just kind of let you go. We need you to come back because Samuel L. Jackson's character is dead. And that's like the one thing that kind of brings Xander back into it is he's like, oh, I kind of owe him, so let's do this. So then they're like, okay, well, here's your team. They're going to go in and help you. And it's like all these Navy SEAL type of guys. And Xander's just like, yeah, I can't have these people watching my back. One, they'll blow my cover. Two, I don't need soldiers. I need people that can think on their feet. And he kind of dispatches the soldier group and gets his own team of people together. Again, kind of Fast and the Furious, where they kind of put their own team together, which I think was in the second one where Paul Walker's character had to like go find a friend to replace Vin Diesel in the second one. So he recruits his team. They manage to track down the guy who stole this satellite stuff. And turns out, spoilers, he was a former member of xXx. He says that he kind of stole it from the government because he didn't trust the government to have it. And there's another girl in the opposing group that says that she doesn't think anyone should have it, not the government, not the person who has it, not xXx. Nobody should have it. It should just be destroyed. So Xander and his crew manage to fight with the other crew. They're kind of evenly matched, so it kind of goes nowhere. And the bad guys kind of get away. Then Xander and his crew manage to track them back down again, get a hold of technology, and track down who's actually behind everything. I forget how exactly it tied in. Somehow it tied loosely back into the person who recruited him and his group back in, and the Navy SEALs that were working for her, which were the same ones that Xander had dispatched earlier. And once it was tracked back to her, she kind of signed the death order for them, like, track him down, wipe him and his whole crew out. And at that point, the two teams kind of came together and fought off the corrupt people who were in the organization. They managed to get a hold of technology, destroy it. And then that kind of wraps up the movie. Then they kind of go into the funeral for Samuel L. Jackson, and spoilers, he's not dead. And he kind of shows up and talks to Xander after the funeral, and he's like, yeah, you're not the only one who can fake your own death. Maybe he's going to try laying low and being a civilian for a while and maybe, like, reform XXX outside of the government this time, because obviously the government is a little corrupted, at least in the XXX program. So it kind of leads open for a sequel. Overall, like I said, it wasn't the best film that it could have been. It was just kind of a boring, like, let's hit all the action movie marks and go from there. It felt more like I was watching just another in the Fast and the Furious series than I was watching a XXX film. Although there was one point in it that made me smile. And, like, right from the start, I was thinking, for a third XXX film, they should kind of unite the cast from the first one and the second one, and basically have it be a mission where they had to recruit, like, Xander Cage and Ice Cube's character to work together. And, like, throughout the movie, it's just Xander Cage and his crew. And then he's like, if you're ever in a jam, take this phone, dial 9, and it's kind of like a safety net. It's like XXX takes care of their own. So this is harkened back onto a couple times throughout the movie, and you're like, okay, so are they ever going to push 9 and figure out what the hell this thing does? What exactly is it? Does he know that Samuel L. Jackson's character is still alive and Samuel L. Jackson is going to send in some type of backup? What's going to go on when he pushes 9? So then, finally, it comes around to where they push 9. And then, of course, the part that kind of made me smile was Ice Cube's character shows up. Spoilers. Big fucking spoiler right there. But that actually made me smile, because I was thinking in this film it should have had the two of them team up, the two XXXs, team up to take down the bad guy for the third XXX. You get most of the way through the movie and you're like, man, too bad Ice Cube wasn't in this, and then suddenly, boom, here he is. Here's Ice Cube, saving the day. They didn't really get to work together. There wasn't like the full-on mashup where it's like the two of them taking on like a bunch of people in this choreographed fight scene like I kind of would have liked. It was more just Xander's off doing his thing, Ice Cube shows up to bail out the crew. Then they meet up at the end, have their little talking heads moment, and kind of say thanks to each other, and that's it. And then they kind of roll off into opposite directions. And, it was a nice little cameo by Ice Cube, but that's all it really was a cameo, where I would have preferred had he been in, like, the majority of the movie and kind of did, like, an Expendables of the XXX program. Like, yeah, we were the original two, but in the years since then, there's been other members. Kind of like the James Bond thing where people question, is James Bond always the same guy, just a different actor playing him? Or has it been a series of people with the moniker of James Bond, 007? So it would have been kind of cool, like, had they gone that route where, yeah, here's Xander Cage, he was the first XXX. Here's Ice Cube's character, he was the second XXX. Because they even refer to him as, like, class of 2005 or something like that. Or XXX 2005, so indicating like what year he became a XXX member. And then it's like all these other people know about the XXX program, and there have been other members of XXX, and in the beginning Samuel L. Jackson is recruiting a new member of XXX. So had it been like, okay, we're all the members of XXX from Xander Cage to the newest guy, and we're all coming together to do this like big Expendables movie, and that would have been the two groups or whatever that came together. It would have made a bit more sense, but, maybe that'll be the next one. Maybe the next XXX will be XXX for the Expendables or whatever. That was just kind of wishful thinking in my mind. So when Ice Cube's character finally showed up, it did actually make me smile a bit. I was like, okay, at least they got him in the movie, even though it's just a cameo. Really, that was the only, like, alright moment of the movie. Like, as you're watching, it's like, okay, basic action flick, basic action flick, basic action flick. Okay, that was kind of cool, but still just basic action flick. And, oh, hey, there's Ice Cube. Okay, back to basic action flick. Typical ending, blah, blah, blah. Samuel L. Jackson is obviously still alive, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, it was just kind of non-eventful, in my opinion. Did it need to be made? No. Was it nice that they tried to go back to it after so many years? Sure, but I think they missed their window on it, honestly. Had they done it back in like 2010 maybe, or had another XXX back in 2010, And then finally in this one in 2015, 16, 17, do like one every 5 years or something, to where now like the three are uniting to take on one mission or something. You know, it would have made more sense to do it that way, but because the second one kind of flopped, they didn't go that route. Not much else to say about it other than that. It was, like I said, it was just kind of uneventful. But if you like action films, you like things like Fast and the Furious, 97, whatever they're up to now, or the first XXX. Like I said, it's kind of along the lines of the first XXX, but kind of in a fast-forward mode. They don't really take the time to establish the story of what's going on. They just kind of speed through everything to get to the next point. So it loses a little bit for that, but like I said, it had that one crowning moment when Ice Cube actually showed up. That made me smile a bit. And only because I had kind of wanted that to be the movie to begin with. So what would I give it as far as a star rating? I guess like a 2.5. I mean, it's kind of your basic action film, so it's kind of a middle of the road. It loses a little bit because it didn't really do anything to advance the story anywhere. It was just kind of like, hey, we're cashing in on this thing, so it loses a bit for that. But then it gave it a little bit back because of the appearance of Ice Cube, even though it was only a cameo, so that both bumps it up and bumps it back down a bit. So it's like a low-end 2.5 for me, almost a 2, but I'm going to be fair and give it a 2.5 just because it did make me smile for that one brief moment. So there you have it. That's my review of XXX Return of Xander Cage. As always, thank you guys for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, share the video. The links are down there in the description. Click the bell up there in the corner. Make sure you're getting push notifications for every time I post new content. And until next time, we'll see you after the credits.